So they're combined. Yeah, YouTube and I see the comments on Instagram. Y'all are it's different. YouTube and Facebook, I can't see their comments. IG, y'all good. YouTube and Facebook, something else is going on. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm not sure what's happening here, but um, so review of yesterday. So causes of increased belly fat. Number one was fatty foods, sugary foods, like diet, basically. In general, you're like eating food that's high in sugar. Um, Number two was alcohol. Um, Alcohol is like empty calories. It's high in calories, it's high in sugar, especially when you get mixed drinks. Um, it alters your hormones and it increases your cortisol levels and it gives you poor sleep. And sleep, as we'll talk about later, but sleep is an issue also as it relates to belly fat. Number three was trans fats. Those are the bad fats. Number four was a sedentary lifestyle, not working out. We kind of know that, right? Number five was a low protein diet. I talked about like how we've all seen the pictures of little kids in third world countries and they have a big old belly with real skinny bodies. They have a low protein diet. They hardly get any protein and they eat a lot of carbs. Like they'll be eating like rice and stuff. Like that's real, that if you're eating a high carb diet and no protein, it gives you this condition called kwashiorkor, which is with that big old belly and skinny legs and arms and stuff. So low protein diet. Menopause. When women go through menopause, we'll notice. Well, I'm not going through menopause yet, but people notice as women go through menopause, they'll start to pick up weight in the midsection, like their midsection just looks thicker. And so there's an increase in fat because of the hormone changes. Gut bacteria, the gut flora being off balance. So our bodies have bacteria. All the different areas of our body has bacteria that is native to that area. So and it's called flora, FLORA. So like the gut flora is not balanced. It'll have the bad bacterias at a higher concentration than the good bacterias, and some of it will produce different things that lead you to have poor digestion, um, and increased fat, and also make you bloated, which will make your belly look like it's fatter, even if it's technically not fat. It's just bigger because things are all swollen and stretched out. So you want your gut flora to be optimized. Yes, probiotics are good for gut flora. Yes. Um, and then we also talked a lot yesterday about endocrine disruptors. So endocrine disruptors are things that are present in some of the foods and also some of the containers that the foods and the things that we ingest are housed in. BPAs is a really common one, and it's found in like plastics. So like anything stored in plastic may have BPAs in it, and then that BPAs leads to it disrupts your hormones, and it'll make you it can cause insulin resistance, and it can cause um, increased fat storage and deposition. So that's how you'll find someone who doesn't actually eat a lot, but if they eat a lot of processed foods, because processed foods tends to come in cans and plastic, then they will, even despite the fact that they technically are having a low calorie diet, they're still packing on fat. This also gives a partial explanation for why people who are of lower socioeconomic status tend to be heavier in weight, because they eat more processed foods. Processed foods are bad news for multiple reasons. And so we even went over, I love my crock pot. I love my crock pot. And we talked about how the like the crock pot liners, they're plastic. And so people will get those liners and put it in their crock pot, and then they'll be simmering their food in this plastic for 8 to 10 hours. And then we're wondering why, even though we're trying to do better at home, we're having some of these issues. So a lot of the shortcuts that they offer us to make our lives easier, you kind of need to look at it with the side eye and ask the Lord to help you discern if it's really a setup and something that's actually hurting you, even though it seems like it's helping you. Okay. So that's kind of what we went over yesterday. So actually, I think we got through 8 things. So the next one on my list is stress and cortisol. Did we talk about stress and cortisol? I feel like we talked about that. Well, we'll talk about that again. I'm not sure if we talked about that. But stress, when your stress is when you have a high stress level, when you have a highly stressful life, and you're not good at coping with the stress, so your physical body is actually feeling the effects of the stress. Elevated stress levels will actually lead to an increase in your cortisol levels. And cortisol is a hormone that contributes to um, fat being deposited in your midsection. The other one we can talk about now, while we're talking about stress and cortisol, is sleep. So, because when you don't get enough sleep, that also raises your cortisol levels. So, people who are highly stressed tend to not sleep as well as others. And so, though both of those things separately lead to increased cortisol and therefore increased belly fat, we did talk about it. I thought so. And the reason why those two are an issue is cortisol is the main reason why those are an issue. Okay. So you want to learn to manage your stress. Like, you want to learn to I mean, the way I do it, I've learned to give it to the Lord. And that's not I'm not even trying to joke here. Like, if you learn how to give it to the Lord for real, like we all say, I'm giving it to the Lord, I'm putting it in the Lord's hands, but we actually don't put it in the Lord's hands. We say it, but then we proceed to try to run everything ourselves and spend up all night worrying about it, trying to come up with the answers. And if you really learn how to trust God and give it to Him, then you won't have stress, won't contribute to your belly being fatter. So you might want to, that's one thing you might want to go ahead and figure out how to truly give it to God, and then your stress levels will be better. So then you won't have these cortisol levels all high and making you fat. So stress, sleep, cortisol. Okay. A low fiber diet increases belly fat. Why? Because a low fiber diet, a few things are happening there. When you're eating a low, what should we take for high cortisol? Nothing. Get your life right. High cortisol tends to have, unless you have an issue with your adrenal glands, which you probably don't, your cortisol levels are high in reaction to your stress and lack of sleep, unless you have like a tumor that is secreting cortisol, which is not usually the case. For the average person, your cortisol levels are high because you're stressed out and not managing it well, and you don't sleep enough. If you want to learn how to give it to God, you might want to sign up for my Bible study and join us on the Zoom tomorrow, Bible study, because we are learning to give it to God every week. Okay. So the low fiber diet. So here's one of the things that happens with the low fiber diet. First of all, you end up with a lot more toxins just hanging out in your gut, because without fiber, transit is much slower through your GI tract, and things are sitting there longer. So when they're passing through slower, every single calorie of whatever that thing is you ate will be absorbed because it's sitting there forever chilling, and your body's able to suck out every single calorie out of it. Okay. The other thing is, it leads to a lot of like residue and crud around your intestines, especially in your large intestines, when your fiber is low. So you want to eat a high fiber diet to keep it, helps you feel full faster, so you will actually eat less, and it stabilizes your hunger, and it stabilizes the hormones that affect your appetite. And then it also helps transit be more like faster, like so that things don't sit in there long, and it kind of sweeps your intestines clean. So fiber is good for you. You want to make sure you're getting enough fiber. The next reason we have is genetics. So some people, I mean, you look at people, you'll see that kids will be shaped just like their parents. People deposit fat preferentially in certain areas. Everyone's different. Some people will put a bunch of fat on their bellies. Some people, all of their fat go to their thighs. Some people, all of their fat go to their arms. Everybody's different. So genetically speaking, if your family carries fat in the middle, you're going to carry more fat in the middle. What are good fiber foods? Vegetables are high in fiber. Fruits are high in fiber. That's, those are the ones. Fruits and vegetables are high in fiber. Okay. We talked about not enough sleep. Oh, okay, so I'm sort of all over the place a little bit. I'm gonna touch back on not enough sleep, because one of the things I had written down for not enough sleep that I didn't mention is it actually changes your food choices. So it makes you actually make worse decisions from a food standpoint, which, we know how that can make you gain belly fat. But then also it makes you less active. If you're tired, you're less likely to work out. And even if you do, you're not going to do as well with the workout as you would have done if you were rested. And then on top of that, the stuff that we talked about earlier. So those are some of the less obvious things that are significant that affects your belly as it relates to sleep. So now what can we do? What are the ways we can improve the fat around our midsection? Okay, y'all know you can do lipo. I'm a plastic surgeon, right? So we already know that. But what are the better ways? I mean, listen, you want plastic surgery, holler at me. If you want lipo, holler at me. But getting lipo, if you're not going to take care of yourself, you'll be back. And furthermore, lipo can't do anything for visceral fat. And we talked about the difference between visceral fat and abdominal fat yesterday. Hold on. Let me pin that comment. Thank you, Marissa. We talked about the difference between visceral fat and abdominal fat yesterday. Visceral fat is the fat that hangs out around your organs. Here's the picture I drew for the people who are here today who weren't here yesterday. If this is a cross section of your midsection, this is your skin. This is the fat layer on top of the muscles. This is your muscle layer. And then behind the muscles is your intra-abdominal cavity. And these little circles represent organs. And the white area will be where like visceral fat is. Visceral fat is around your organs behind the muscles. This is not something that can be dealt with plastic surgery. This is something, the only way you can make the fat in this area less is to lose weight. You got to lose weight. So the way you can control your fat in the midsection as it relates to visceral fat and even extra abdominal fat is to be more mindful of what you're eating and the things that you're eating that you don't even realize are causing you to gain weight, even though you may not even be eating a lot of fat, like avoiding things in plastic containers, canned goods, processed foods. Like I am really in a place right now in a season in my life where I am trying to retrain myself and my family to eat less processed foods. And it's not easy because I didn't realize how many things we eat that are processed. Like, I mean, even like snacks and stuff for the kids, like most of them is processed stuff. Like even little fruit cups, like they put it in all of that sugary syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and it's sitting in a plastic container. So you think you're doing something eating fruit, but you just put it in something that makes you fat. The container makes you fat, and the high fructose corn syrup that they put in there makes you fat. So I've been like literally, I'm following this one page on Instagram, and it's actually a page for moms of toddlers. And it's all of these hacks to make snacks and stuff for your kids. And she even showed us how to make fruit cups. Like you dice up whatever fruits you want yourself. You you can put it in little small little mason jars or something like that. So that's glass. And then you put coconut water in there for the, and maybe a little bit of honey. You put that in there for the liquid that the fruit cup is in. And now you've made it with just a couple, 3 ingredients: the fruit, the, if you put a little bit of honey in there and a little coconut water, you've literally made a fruit cup that's in a glass container that is no preservatives, no high fructose corn syrup, no endocrine disruptors, and it takes no time. And so, I mean, she had things on there that's good for me as a grown up, right? But there's ways, it's not even that hard to like make some of these things that we're normally eating processed. If you desire to know, you can figure it out. Like, and so right now I'm like in this season where I'm trying to learn about um making things myself. And so I'm going to be honest. Right now, I'm not going to change out the bottled water situation. That's probably going to be the last thing I work on. But everything else that's housed in plastic, I'm going to try to remove from my diet and my children's diet. I'm getting a lot more things. If I can make it myself, I make it myself instead of getting the instant version of things. I am weaning my children off of beverages that are sweetened with crap. I'm slowly trying to transition my family to things that are not processed. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So just start with 1 or 2 things, get the hang of that, and then add 1 or 2 more things that you're going to work on as you're becoming more aware of the stuff that you're consuming, because your kids are going to be fine with it right now. But shoot, some of these kids are not. Like, it's a bunch of overweight children. My kids are skinny and run around skinny and fine. Mama is not. Okay. Mama need to do better for herself. But this is also there. This is going to hit them later the same way it hit me. I was skinny like them when they were. I didn't get all this weight on me until 4 or 5 years ago. So, just don't get overwhelmed trying to change everything all in one day. Pick 1 or 2 things and start on that. And then once you get the hang of that, then remove another thing and put the replacement in that spot, until you gradually get yourself and your family not eating this stuff that's killing us. Because I promise you, these endocrine disruptors are also causing people to get cancer. Like, we're literally feeding ourselves crap. And then when you're trying to eat lean meats, you're trying to eat vegetables and stuff. People are like, well, just be vegan. I'm like, yep. Because we haven't seen them recall vegetables. You don't get that fruit at the grocery store that got all of that wax on it, and now you chewing on that. And so you think you're not going to get cancer, but you will be a vegan with cancer from the pesticides and the crazy crap they got stuck on the fruit. Like, literally everything is messed with. So another thing I'm doing is growing, I'm growing some of my own vegetables. I'm not really growing fruit. It's mostly just vegetables. Tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, like bell peppers, herbs, different herbals, because those things help with they have all kind of medicinal and just overall wellness benefits. Different herbs. Soda is acidic, robs oxygen from the cells, creating the perfect environment for cancer to manifest itself. Right. Yeah. Soda, we all know that that's not probably the best thing for you if you're trying to reduce belly fat. Even diet soda. Like, some people will be drinking diet soda like crazy people because it says 0 calories. Except the interesting thing is, people who are having a hard time losing weight, when I'm like, stop drinking the diet soda, and they start losing weight. So it might not be sugar proper in there, but your body's doing something with it that's not good. Your body's doing something with it that's not good. All these things that we do to cheat, if we think we're cheating and bypassing the system, you're not. You're making another problem. You're making another problem. It's a trick, and you're making probably worse problems with the shortcut. So we've made so many shortcuts and everything that we're like killing ourselves. The devil's sitting there watching, laughing, like they just killing their own self. So Pick one or two things and start working on that. Try to get better sleep habits and start learning to give it to God so that you're not stressed. I'm so sad that I cannot see the questions on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm going to figure this out by tomorrow or whenever I go live again for y'all. What's a good one-a-day vitamin? I don't really have a vitamin recommendation. There's probably a lot of good one-a-day vitamins. I went to Bali and Morocco and the food was fresh. Yeah, everybody has fresh food except for America. America is a mess. We have so many shortcuts that we have, like, listen, y'all. Let me tell. And I cannot take credit for this quote that I'm about to give you. I'll tell you where I got it from once I say it. If like she said somebody on this show said something to her about a shortcut, and she said you shouldn't take a shortcut because if it was right, it would just be called the way. Right? So if it was the best thing, it would just be called the way. It wouldn't be called a shortcut. When you do shortcuts, there's something missing that's vital. How do you know if you have visceral fat? One way to assess if the fat you're seeing is visceral or abdominal is whether or not it can be pinched. Pinchable fat means that it's on top of your muscles because you can grab it. So like a person with a beer belly and their belly's big and smooth, but you can't pinch it, that's because the fat is behind their muscles. So, but usually if you got a bunch of extra abdominal fat, you have visceral fat too. Do you remember the name, the IG name for the snack prep lady? I do not. I can't remember. It was like toddler. Type in toddler snacks or hashtag toddler snacks and see if it gets you to a page like that. So you just want to be careful with shortcuts. Just from this day forward, when you see a shortcut or you realize something is a shortcut, like stop and actually think about and assess if this is actually a setup, like the crockpot liner. Let's get them. Oh, they think they smart. Okay, we're gonna get them to marinate all their food for 10 hours in BPA bag. It's a trick. You learn these things, get your weight under control, still got a little fat in the middle because of genetics. I'm your girl. If you get some liposuction and you still doing all these bad things, you'll be back for more liposuction. And you still won't be able to get your belly all the way flat if all of this fat is wrapped around your organs, right? So we need to get healthy. We want to get healthier. We want to make our families healthier. We want to be feeding our children the right stuff. What is the name of the probiotic you use? If you click the link in my bio, the probiotic I use is in there. Because I do use a probiotic every day. And right now I'm researching how to make my own probiotic, like at my house. No, I use the crockpot liners. It's going to be sunny. It's the crockpot liners that are a problem. Like people will get those plastic crockpot liners to go inside the crockpot so they don't have to wash the crockpot afterwards. It helps you makes the cleanup much easier. But the trade-off is that you're cooking your food in plastic. So you don't want to do that. And I only talked about the things that's in our food that make our bellies bigger. I didn't even get into some of the things that's in our food that just basically makes you like get cancer or stuff like that. I didn't even talk about that. This was a talk focused on belly fat. Minimize processed foods. So if we can the stuff that we can control, you can't control going through menopause, can't control that. You can control how you respond to stress by determining whether or not you're going to give it to God or not. So give it to God, these problems we got. minimize processed food intake, get sleep. That's like, if we're going to summarize what we can do and not be overwhelmed by all that we talked about, because it was a lot of them, those are the 3 things. Okay. YouTube, Facebook, I'm so sorry I can't see your questions, but what I will do is when this is over, once I get into bed and chill, I'm gonna go and check the questions that you may have typed out, because I'm sure they'll show up on. I'm using a platform to do YouTube and Facebook at the same time, so I'll go into YouTube and go into Facebook and check questions and answer them for y'all. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't see them live, but I will circle back and answer your question. I'll type out answers to your questions in the comments. Okay. How many hours of sleep would you recommend? I mean, the textbooks tell me to tell you 8 hours of sleep. I rarely sleep for 8 hours, but I think if you got at least 5 or 6 hours minimum, you should get of consecutive sleep. You want to get a stretch of consecutive sleep. Yeah. Okay. If you're interested in contacting me and reaching out for a consult, my office number is 678-325-0006. Marissa has it pinned on this Instagram video. And you also can reach out to my website, www.ederabella.com. The Bible study, if you're interested in joining the Bible study, text 404-905-2512, and you're going to text the words Bible study to that number. You have to text the words Bible study to that number in order to get the link. Bible study will be tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. and it's on Zoom. So I'll send the link out tomorrow for people to join. Okay. All right. I will check y'all later. Bye.